Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my country house. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance this year to meet and any place in the world. Unfortunately, we're doing that. Each one at their own house. And so, just to introduce myself, I've been asked, and I'm working with Ernest as well. I've been asked to participate to this very interesting conference about Unscripted. Hosted by Ernest. I don't know why they put some such word as killer inside. I'm not a killer. I'm a smart guy, but anyway, you'll see. So let's go ahead, and you see as I put a very interesting picture when life was pretty good. So what I will present you today is who I am, the experiments I got within the IT, the DevOps, and more particularly in the banking industry, where I'm working for 12 years now. So as an ID, I decided to associated some sound of music to different thema, as you will see. So who I am and the different things in life and in business, such as customer perception, the approach within the company. And so for each theme, I did put some song name, which are relevant to me for depending on the subject we're going to talk about. So of course, La Marseillaise. So perhaps you didn't figure it out because of my Texan accent, but I'm French, from France. So the Marseillaise, of course, is our national anthem. So French and moved in Canada 20 years ago. I'm a diver, as you saw in the pictures. I'm a rugby fan because my son is playing rugby. A trumpet player when I used to be young, when I was young. And sorry for my English. I'm finding the words and trying sometimes still to associate with my French language. About my studies, then I studied in engineering, IT, and I moved as well through operation, production management. And what's very important for me as a person is always waking up in the morning to have some fun, right? The day I will go to work not having fun, I will probably change job, not probably for sure. And I put some more about the resilience, right? Resilience is something very interesting when we do work in this IT industry, moving very fast. So resilience is the ability to resist to shocks and resume the initial structure. Because I'm quite sure all of us did face a lot of challenges in work, and we always have to fight back and get back and always be very positive through those fights. Second point, more in detail about my mindset, I would say. I'd say fly me to the moon. I think sky is not the limit. And as you see, I had a lot of fun going in the air. So I'm really into leading changes, could be in DevOps or even some others, human changes, but more specifically on the last 3-4 years, I do work in DevOps and software engineering practices. I really like working with human people, so that's why I'm a bit sad of the situation lately. But there are always very interesting human challenges to face, and that's the way to evolve and to be a better person in my mind. And so about my actual work, I do work in transformation within the National Bank, and my objective is to reinforce the best practice within all the development teams. Which is very interesting challenge and a very tough one as well. And that's about it. I like challenges, whatever if they're human or technological. But let's go a bit deeper into the subject of today. I had a few presentations, and someone told me one day that a picture is equivalent to 1,000 words. So the reality in our IT environment today that we do have some delivery teams with a project manager or scrum master, and those guys are trying to deliver, right? So delivered as fast as possible. So they manage by the lead time, by deadline as well, by frequency deployment. So as you see, sometimes it does not look as good as it should be, right? So you have those guys who try to deliver some functionalities, some software, but then on the other side, you have the operation telling those guys, well, where are you going with this kind of exercise, right? We are more focusing on the failure rate and the mean time to restore. So please stop playing like this in deliveries, right? So your development team, your operation team are there, and at the end you have your customer looking at this. And when I say customer, it's partners, a business partner, and they say, well, what's going on with this IT people, right? You have the dev guy, you have the ops guy, there's something wrong. So what should we do there? And that's where DevOps, and you all know, came with a lot of interaction, communication, collaboration between those different teams, and ideally having autonomous team managing development as well as operation. Because our partners here, our customer are interested in what? They're interested in a business requirement for sure, so make sure our customer are pretty pleased with the service we do provide. High availability with zero downtime, stability, robustness, and smaller and faster time to market, right? So that the context with different IT teams and customer, which is here just expecting something to change to make sure benefits happen properly. So that's why I put that the sound of silence, because this guy here looks very disappointed. So the necessity to change this mindset, having development teams, operation team, is very important, right? It's very important because we need to focus on the customer. And in the banking industry, we do face different challenge from other industry. Of course, they're pretty specific. And I won't read the old documentation here. You could go through it, take your time, no problem. But what we're facing in the banking industry is a lot of competition, right? We do live with fintech. We do live with many other companies who want to be upfront the customer and let the back office through the actual industry. We're very sensitive to security. I'm quite sure you heard a lot of things regarding data leak. What else? We're facing as well some regulatory compliance, very important on the market. But one very interesting point in the cultural shift, right? Because usually in the banking, you do expect something very stable, very strong, like something monolithic, right? And it doesn't work anymore for years. So that's a very interesting challenge to change this culture, but we'll talk about that a bit later. But basically, there is a necessity to change, and that's all the exercise we're going to go through. How we could change, what we did to change, and we're going to change again in the future for sure. So what to do? So when you need to change all those mindsets, all those technology, all those processes, well, either you call the plan A, which is something very interesting, which is called a miracle. But most of the time, this plan A does not occur, right? So we look for plan B, and the plan B is going for the change. So, and I really like this nice picture I got here. So everybody wants to change, right? Well, everybody wants change. That's what he says. Then who wants to change? So here you have less people. And then when you ask for someone to lead the change, basically there is nobody in front, right? Well, there are less people, not nobody. So anyway, we did go with those changes, and I call in French la force du destin, meaning we have to face people, process, technology, which are various and very different within our framework, within our environment at the bank. So people, of course, you're all facing those wonderful young people coming with different mindset, different expectation. We do work with a spectrum of people from 24 to 60 years old, because unfortunately we have to work more and more to get retired with a pension. And we need to move from a conservative approach to a more innovative approach to have a major customer impact. So that the people aspect regarding process, well, we do work in a huge company, 20,000 employees, more than 2,000 people in IT, and we're facing, of course, processing, right? Process with a lot of administration in place, with a lot of documented permanent instruction. We do work with different framework. and of course security and audit are behind because of the banking regulation. Regarding technology as well, we're going from COBOL to Go, Java, Python, any kind of language, but the COBOL is mainly used for the mainframe. I would like to move to the cloud as well, so mainframe to cloud, and we have a lot of initiative and we already migrate many applications in the cloud. And then you have a panel of technology and solution, right? Every 6 months on the market, depending on the practice you're referring to, there is new tool coming in. And that's very tough as well to adapt because we don't have necessarily the maturity to change tools every 6 months. Not in a company such as National Bank because it's a huge company and it creates a lot of friction, reorganization, changes, and we cannot absorb those change very, very quickly. So that I would say that's the kind of context we are in with the people, with the process, and with the resource we need to face. So where to start? We start first with a wheel of change. That's very important if in any organization, from the higher management to the employee, to have this wheel to change. And of course, I'd like to move it. So we decided to go within the bank with a transversal transformation team. So the idea basically of those center of excellence is to have specialists in DevOps, in integration, monitoring, deployment, to have all those guys in a transformation team which go help other team, educate them, help them understanding the concept of DevOps, the concept of the cloud, of course, helping them through easier enrollment. And I will talk about this very interesting tools we developed in-house. So basically, this team is covering all the DevOps and software engineering aspect, and they're dedicated to different teams. So I send my DevOps integrator to multiple projects to help them getting better and having more understanding. At the end, the objective is for those teams to be autonomous, and then we get out from there. And hopefully one day we won't have a transformation team because everybody will be transformed already. As well, we decided to set up some rules, the 12 commandments. I put like a joke soon to come instead of close to your place. So we'll go through those rules very soon. Standardization, rationalization, what's killing us is customization. Any application, and in my past life, I used to work in huge company, and they decided to customize SAP, for example, and it was really a challenge for us to face this customization. So standardization is the easiest way, to have a kind of automatic process with generic standardization, nomenclature, so everything's well set up. Standard templating as well. So as I said, customization is a killer. Measure yourself, in my mind, so that you will see that's one of our 12 commandments, the measurement. But that's the key factor, right? And one of the commandments is your decision must be based on metrics. That's something I really put some emphasis on since I would say a year, at least from now. And as you'll see within a company, we started in all this journey without any KPI. Or we just say, well, we need to change and let's transform the bank. But we didn't know exactly where we were starting from. Then the second year, we had some KPI DevOps. So here the idea was to ask people where they were standing in those different practices, but it was very objective because that's they have to basically evaluate themselves on their own, which is not very objective, and it was manual. And lately, we did develop a software engineering dashboard, fully automated and plugged to all the different development tools from the SDLC. And that really makes a difference to help people measure themselves and improve as well. So here we are for the 12 commandments. So API will go first. So you could go through those 12 commandments. Basically, that's some rules we put in place for people to better understand how to interface and why human is not necessary. As not necessary to be involved, in deployments or in any other activities. So automation is really a key parameter, is a key factor here. The number 8 is very interesting. It's very interesting as well, as deployment shall not cause downtime. And we'll talk about that with Ernest as well for ZDD. But the last one were very interesting. So your decision might be based on metrics, as I just explained a bit earlier, and security shall be at the top of your list. So security going through the cloud is more and more important. Tokenization, encryption of a lot of things. So that's basically the different rules we put in place to help people understand this. And of course, when we do talk about DevOps, we do talk about automation and pipeline, right? So that's the key aspect. The automation is key aspect of DevOps, and to do so, we need to have very strong pipeline interfacing with the different tools of the software development lifecycle. Here, that's very well. I don't know if it's standard. Perhaps it's getting older, but for now, I think I always thought that a tool is not. Well, it could make a difference, but once you have the practice, you could change the tool. But you cannot do the opposite. So basically in the integration, we have of Bitbucket, Jenkins, Nexus, Sonar, and you'll see here, all those interesting components we have within our pipelines. We do have something called the Unroller, which is very, very interesting tool. We did develop it to make the enrollment easy for any application going into those different tools. So that's more an access management tool, providing you access to already creating the repo and access to them either in Bitbucket or Nexus. And they could even provide many other sources. So basically, when you enroll yourself, you have already access to all the application. Second step would be to do a pipeline as a product, and we're still working on this case. But the different practice here, we do talk about CI, CD, CT, CM, and CS, of course. That's very, very tough because I'm going this way, doing my speech. There is no interaction, unfortunately, but I really appreciate when it's a two-way speech, when there is an exchange, a collaboration. So that's a tough exercise for me today. But then after talking about the pipeline, let's talk about CD, right? And here we have to be very careful because continuous delivery is not something we do target within the bank. So as I'm very often saying to the different team, we're not Google, we're not Amazon, we're not providing movies on the internet. We do provide stable and robustness functionality for customer in the street to manage their money, right? So here we do talk more about automation. Application release automation is something much more pertinent for us than continuous delivery. Historically, we started with Urban Code Deploy. Sorry, Urban Code Deploy, an IBM solution, which address essentially the legacy, right? So today we're running with those kind of tools, 500 deployment per week, all environment including, but that's specific to the legacy, and we're looking for another tool for cloud provisioning and cloud deployment with a zero downtime approach. So going through there, we did compare many different tools, Argo CD, Spinnaker as well as an open source, and Harness. And the Harness experiments were very interesting because we had two people on site for 2 days. Julian and Christina came on board for 2 days, and they showed us the potential of the tools, and they sit down with my team. And within 2 days, we were very impressed on how fast we could implement deployment, either in GCP or AWS or even OpenShift. So I think the easiness and the easiness, the environment, the configuration. So we were very impressed, and we're very happy to see that. And that's where we decided to go with our new deployment tools within the cloud with Harness. And here I put the new World Symphony here because I always try to explain people that an orchestrator, such as Jenkins or Cycle CI, is not a tool for deployment. I know developers by nature are using Jenkins to do everything, even the coffee or even the croissant in the morning. But don't forget that the orchestrator is not the musician, right? So for each part of your pipeline, you will need different musicians managed by the orchestrator. But don't ask the conductor to play trumpet, right? Ask the conductor to conduct the pipeline. So what did we learn from that? And I went very quickly, 30 minutes for a French guy like me who likes to talk and likes hearing himself speaking. 30 minutes, very short because there's so many things to share about that. But the main topic here was War and Peace, meaning the tools versus the practice. And that's a permanent fight I have within the company, within the bank, explaining people that if they don't have the practice, it's useless to change tool. The practice is what you need to develop. Then after you'll be able to adapt yourself to different tools. But that's an unending debate because you have innovation and you try to standardize at the same time. You have different maturity level within the team. So it's very tough to manage, and that's why I think it's a non-ending debate, and it happens regularly within my meetings to go through those points. The measure and its consequences. So that's so important to see, to analyze from where you start and where you're going. Because as I explained you a bit earlier, we did start without any really KPI to measure ourselves, but now we do have them. We do see teams reacting very quickly to this. They want to understand what they're doing and how better they could be. The level of confidence in the code, of course, meaning you do need to go through all the different tools to protect your data, to protect your code, the vulnerabilities of it, the intrusion testing. Security is very, very important, and scanning code as well, and even the test mutation are very important stuff to do to make sure you're deploying the appropriate artifact in your environment. How to have a controlled innovation, that's a very interesting question. I remember once that I heard that any company who has an innovation department, that's nonsense, because innovation should be everywhere. You should have one department who's innovating. It should be everywhere in your company, but still it has to be controlled. And you could innovate without changing the tool, right? It's more in the way to do things. And that's about it. And of course, I remind you that nota bene, that's Latin, practices is more relevant than the tooling. So you can stop the music for sure. Business-wise, that's very important to remember, and we're very sensitive to that. To the all IT teams, we do work for the customer in the street, for the customer who's knocking at the door of the bank. That's for this guy we do work. We do not work for the business. We do not work for managers. We do work for the customer in the street. That's a very important point to focus on, because very often IT people forget about exactly what they're used for, what their objectives. But the objective is the guy in the street who's paying the salary, right? Zero downtime for the customer is one of the targets for next year with my team. Having a front application facing the customer should not have any downtime for sure. That's major impact on customer. Monitoring your business, the value of your business, basically, and with my monitoring team, we're going there more and more. You need to know how many transactions you have, how many money you're making about those transactions. So that's really the business aspect of it. IT-wise, follow up with the measures, with software engineering metrics and any kind of other metrics, very pertinent to evaluate the work you're doing and get better. Automation with harness, of course. So today we developed some driver to integrate harness into the enroller to facilitate the onboarding. And to achieve the ZDT, then we need to go for the monitoring and blue-green canary. And we plan to do that within RNS, plug in Datadog and Splunk or any other monitoring tool. Well, of course, we still have room to improve ourselves. And I think when we'll get this elevator here, well, probably this escalator, sorry, we'll need to move to some other things, because IT world is changing so quickly that you really can't stop the music and you need to go ahead. And that's about it for my presentation. I didn't check my time, but I think I'm pretty okay with my 30 minutes. I hope it was not too boring. I tried to go through many different subjects from who I am, the banking transformation and the banking challenges, DevOps challenges as well. And what the key element I think you need to remember make sure you do progress pretty well. That's about it. I know there is a Q&A session, but I'm not sure it's now because I don't have so many participants in front of me. That's about it.